to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address this committee at this time? Okay. Then we'll move into our community development monthly reports. Mr. Preston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 22 zoning permits, 24 building permits. Of those 24, a quarter of those were new home constructions last month starting. And then for code enforcement, 36, we're falling in that range where we try to hit about 40, so here and there. We're continuing to try to work to get our civil infraction tickets approved for going through the district court so that we can start doing some fines and penalties on these.
Any questions?
I have a question. So a couple of my townships last week expressed that they feel like they have some properties that are kind of a mess and that nothing happens. Just to be short. And so, is that what you're talking about with the civil infractions? Are there going to be stiffer penalties, or kind of how can we help them feel like they're getting some sort of action? Do they get a copy of these reports, the township supervisors?
I'm not sure if they do. I can check in the office if they do.
Bennington does.
Yeah, we always did as well.
So they do get a copy.
Okay.
The civil infraction is the streamlining of us being able to collect money at our counter if you accept that you're in violation of the ordinance. What that does is lighten up the load for the court system as well. What we've run into is that we did have a civil infraction in place. We started collecting money at our municipal fines bureau. However, there was an issue with the way our format was laid out.
Okay.
And though it met the law, it was requested that there be a different format. So we've been continuing to try to work through that. Most of the violations that you have some concerns about, or they have some concerns about, you're going to find those predate even me being here. And there's always this blow up of frustration on these. That's what we're trying to get out, or to get at, is to tackle some of these bigger ones. A few years back, we were able to work with the courts in order to essentially probate the property, become the executor of a property to get it cleaned up. So we're hoping to get something like that back in place. Why we want to go with the more aggressive civil infraction is because we felt that things just got drug out. When I first got here, there were over 600 violations on our system. We're down to about 300 now. Some of them were thrown out because people just moved to clean up their property. I'm not going to take credit for those. Some of them we were able to enforce, but some of them just drug out over the years. You folks drive around this county. You know the properties. They do not get cleaned up very often. So now we have a way to keep it out of the courts, to keep it in our office, that we can go up to 3 times of collecting money before it goes over to the courts. And that's what we'd like, and I think the courts would like that too, instead of being encumbered with having to deal with those kind of violations. Because they're always, the spring it's too muddy, it's too cold in the winter to do it. My son's graduating, and they get drug out.
And what has been expressed to me actually by 2 different townships was they feel like, of course, I'm sure some people feel like the fines are way too high, but some people just feel like, just pay the fine because it's not so much that we can't pay it. We'd rather pay the fine than clean up.
Right. Our new one goes up to $750 a day for the violation. So if we really wanted to put it to someone, we could. Now, but there's always this teeter-totter effect. So we try to work with folks, we try to get them on a schedule to get things up, try to monitor. That takes staff time, that takes staff effort to do it. If you lose track of that, of course, they're going to back off. But if we go real aggressive, all of a sudden there's a grandma involved, there's a newspaper reporter, and we just went in there and destroyed somebody's family. So we're always trying to watch that. I've been in situations in this county where the judge has ordered the person to jail. And he's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with those other than ask for a court-ordered cleanup to where the levy would be put on the taxes, and then hopefully they go in foreclosure. It's surprising, some of the folks that do violate the ordinance, how much resources they have to just keep going without having to clean up their property. So it goes far and wide, but a lot of our complaints are branches. My favorite one of late was a fence that was put on a property and the end cap fell off and blew into the other neighbor's yard. She wanted us to enforce the ordinance that his fence was blight, but he wouldn't let her, or she wouldn't let him go over and pick up the cap to put it on. So we're talking a wide, very, very wide gamut of issues here. We've worked with some of the townships to get through this. Our biggest thing right now is just to get that formatted civil infraction, and we're going to go again. And it's revenue for the county that's outside of the courts. It's through our violations bureau, and what was thought was going to work is just kind of hung up in a little bureaucracy. So we'll get through that.
Thank you, that's helpful, appreciate it.
Pete, as long as you're talking about this, I'm just trying to get a feel for what you do week to week on this sort of thing. Of these violations, what percentage of them would you say are things that are just a matter of clean up your mess? You know, you've left cars here, you've got trash here, you whatever. What percentage of those would you say?
80%.
And of that 80%, in your experience, I'm not going to nail you down with this, of those 80%, would you say involve people who've got mental illness problems?
I would say a good share do. I'd say the majority, 50% of those that we have issues with, there are issues like that.
So we may have situations where people simply can't clean up for physical or mental reasons. And that's got to be quite a challenge.
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
But we have Nick Kearns is our dedicated code enforcement officer. He is a gentle giant with a lot of these folks and talks through it at the counter, has one of those demeanors that is more social worker than cop almost. And he has been, without the civil infraction, the actual hammer, been getting some compliance. It just takes a while. Or else we end up on the paper for doing something, being overzealous. We are especially focused right now on the building code. We are enforcing that because we have different tools in the civil infraction to enforce that with. And that's more public health, safety, welfare. That's more unsafe structures. That's more someone refinishing up a pole barn and living in there. That's decks and stuff that they build real quick before a graduation party so they can put 100 kids out there to take pictures on. Those are the things that we focus on. I will bypass a couple of junk vehicles in a backyard for someone building something or finishing a basement that will have occupancy and possibly have a more tragic result from the violation. So we prioritize on a 1 to 3 scale. 3s we check on every once in a while. We get a little cleanup. They get bumped up if they're not getting compliance. 1s are the public health, safety, welfare.
Thank you.
What percentage of those current violations are a 1 versus a 2 versus a 3?
Let's say 5 to 10%, and then 10 to 20, and then
Sure.
the 80% are the 3s.
3s, yeah.
Yeah, it's also hard when you enforce this because there's a neighbor complaining about this house, but on your way there you see 15 others that are kind of like that. It's tough too. And cluttered porches are cluttered porches, folks. I mean, I don't really want people looking in my backyard either. And that's why we're very cautious also not to be wandering around people's property looking for violations. We are complaint driven, which means somebody calls in a complaint. However, we do not release the complainant's name until we verify that there is a violation, so then we take on the status of complaint, so that they do not get turned in.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Preston. Appreciate it. All right, and with that, we'll move into our agenda items, and we'll start with item A, where we will entertain a motion to approve the PA 116 farmland agreement applications for Mr. Frank
Viscotial.
Viscotial?
Yes.
Okay, Viscotial parcels 004-34-100-004 and 004-34-100-002 located in Hazelton Township, and Kenneth Smolik parcel 003-29-400-001 located in New Haven Township.
Support. I know them both.
All right, take that as a motion. support it?
Support, sorry. I
Good,
got it.
good. Yes, I know.
He did say.
I'll make
If I could make
I
a
thought,
motion, I
okay,
would
got
too.
it.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion,
That's
sorry.
I got it.
We got it. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of moving this forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That will move forward. Now, item B. We will entertain a motion to approve the L-4029 form as presented and to establish the 2022 summer tax millage rates and authorize the chairman and clerk to execute the document.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support
All
this.
right. Item B, moved and supported. Taxes, questions, comments, concerns?
We just draw your attention to the item B cover sheet that shows you the details of it, that even though our taxable value, the amount that we can levy, our taxable value has gone up from 2 billion to 2.2 billion, but our millage amount has decreased as a result of heavily, but because of that increase, we are still taking in more money. It averages around $250,000 to $300,000 increase a year. This year it's 1.15 million, or I'm sorry, 1.115 million. Most of that is a result of the solar farm.
Okay, very good.
And Pete is working on a report for all of you that shows that breakdown of how much of it is the solar farm that we come in the next couple of months.
D. Anything else? Item B. Hearing none, all in favor of moving it forward, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There, it moves forward unanimously. So item C, we will entertain a motion to approve the rehabilitation mortgage discharge for Robert Hathen and Marcy Hathen, 301 Northwest Street, Henderson.
I'll make the motion.
I will support. Item C, moved and supported. Very good. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of pushing item C on to a number Wednesday, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now we'll move on to item D, where we will entertain a motion to push forward resolution 22-05-10. Documents in front of you. If you would like to view it, we can provide one to you guys too, if you would like. We'll entertain that motion.
Just a couple of items about it while you're reading the resolution. The city manager Duran sent this to Commissioner Marks and myself, and with a request that it is approved by this board as a resolution of support for a blighted building. The city of Duran will be passing one as well. The SEDP is working on some letters and support documents as well. And this is the old Simplicity building in Duran that's a brownfield, and so they're working on trying to clean it up and redevelop it. And this is a letter of support, essentially a letter of support. You guys do it as a resolution to say that you support the development of this project and the state expending this money on this group.
And this is the east side of the road,
That is
Yes,
correct.
It's the rundown.
Right.
The old one.
the old
The wood
one.
part fell down, the other
Yeah.
part is still there, and they still bought it after that.
Is the other part gonna go too, or?
No, they're gonna rehab it, and it's going to be a tractor,
So they gotta strip the asbestos out, or how does that work?
yes. There's gonna be a lot of environmental cleanup,
Yeah.
which is why we're saying, hey, state, give them some money to do it.
So how do we know all that asbestos isn't gonna go airborne in the process and all the residents in the area?
They'll have to have a full asbestos abatement program.
Part of
Yeah.
the,
I'm
part
sure
of
the
the
state
brownfield
will
program and everything.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, once the state gets involved, there's gonna be all kinds of grant restrictions and, compliance documents and stuff like that, so.
Very good.
Most of that stuff is hanging out there, so.
Is this resolution an important part of the efforts in Duran to revitalize this building?
Yes.
The reason I ask is I know sometimes we have to pass resolutions for legal reasons, and this sounds like more we're being supportive, is at one of our recent meetings, when there was a question about naming a bench after someone and so on, came up that we don't really have a policy on that, because you go down that road and pretty soon you have to start choosing what you'll support, what won't you, what do you have time for, what you don't. And of course, we have at least one other that I know of, group wanting us to pass resolutions of support or resolutions against things. I'm just slightly concerned if we go down this road without a policy, not that I'm having anything against this, I'm fine with this today. That, again, much like the renaming of things and dedicating things and all that, maybe we should start thinking about us for things that, well, you didn't know about this, and maybe we didn't. We ended up supporting something. If we looked more into it, we shouldn't have supported, or maybe be against something we should have been for. And, you know, we'll go down the line, and we'll all be hearing from people on stuff that has no effect on the county. So just a generalized concern for me, going forward, whether we're gonna get into this kind of thing.
This is essentially what the House and Senate would call a commemorative. It's the version of a letter of recommendation from the board. And this one I think is pretty clear. Pro asbestos and leaving the building to rot or not. And in this particular case, it's just a request to move it forward to have it cleaned up. And it is an environmental hazard. And
Like I said, I have no problem with it, this specific one. I'm just concerned about it in general. I'm sure you've been at the state when they've been passing these commemorative resolutions. Everybody's milling around doing nothing. They just breathe through them really, really fast. They really are quite meaningless.
So would something like that policy stuff go in a board handbook? Where do those?
Yeah.
And
At
so
some
the
point,
next
we
time
can
it's time to
develop
update
one.
the handbook, there needs to be.
Yeah.
Understood. Is there any questions or discussion regarding the resolution before us?
You have no motion or
We
second.
have no motion or second, so it doesn't
Okay.
matter.
I move to adopt resolution 220510, endorsing the revitalization of the property located at 209 South Oak Street in the city of Durant.
Support.
Okay, now we can actually talk about it if we would like.
I had one question, Randy. So, is it necessary? I mean, is this a part of the grant application that this
Letters of
resolution?
support. No, not necessarily from the Board of Commissioners, just letters of support in general from the community.
Could we do a letter of support
You
rather
could do
than
a
a
letter of support,
resolution? I mean,
But that would come from me. It's more important when a letter or a resolution come from you.
I mean, we've done those sort of supportive sort of things before as a resolution. That's just been we don't have a written policy about it, but that's how we've done it.
Have we ever turned one down?
No, that's the second here.
Basically, this is a government courtesy to another government. This isn't government so much to private sector. The government has to get the brownfield moving. So this is kind of a government, and this is only a support. It doesn't cost us anything.
No.
And there's no obligation or cost, or it's not required. The city manager had requested it so that they could get several from the local community. There's going to be a senator letter, a House of Representative letter, the general fare of people to write them.
Could be a bad look if every entity in the state sends a letter about us. Understand. As the area representative, I am in support of it.
Oh, I don't
I absolutely
disagree.
understand what you and what your voters are saying.
I don't know how you would write a policy on that. That would be so broad.
It would be, yes.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
I think unfortunately for politicians, I hate to say that we are, but we are. Sometimes we have to take stands on things. And that's what we're here for, so. Anyway, any other discussion over the item at hand? Good, we can argue about it again on Wednesday maybe. All in favor of moving it forward, item D, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it will move forward. Is there anyone else that would like to address the committee at this time? All right, we will adjourn this meeting.
Okay, we'll switch chairs and we will move right along. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Anyone from the public like to speak at this time? If not, Julie.
Good evening, everybody. Our office, we've completed the 2021 tax settlement, so 1 year behind us, and we've got a little break before July 1st, the new bills go out, and we start the new cycle all over again. We will be collecting Shiawassee Township bills again this summer. We were hoping that they were gonna take it over, but just circumstances aren't allowing it this year. And so hopefully next year they'll be able to take on that task. The MyHalf payments that I've been telling you about are coming in nicely. We've had at least a dozen in, and I got notification today that 4 more people are gonna get some good help. So it's really a cool thing. Other than that, I don't have anything much else, I guess, going on in the office. Any questions at all, or?
Any questions for Julie?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. For the agenda, I'm gonna add a couple of discussions. I'm gonna put on a point about, we'll discuss reimbursement for mileage. And then also too, we'll discuss what Parks and Rec Board did last week, and then this morning with a master plan meeting, I will get into that. So those will be the items after agenda number 5. There'll be A, B, C, D, okay. I need a motion to approve the contract with Governor O's, a code file company, for a 5-year contract to provide support, maintenance, updates, and security and search capabilities an amount not to exceed $29,365 annually, and this is a 5-year contract, I think, yes, and authorize the chair to execute the same.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion, support, discussion.
Register deed is here if you have any questions. This is budgeted for from her technology fund, right?
Correct. This is a renewal, basically.
Okay. It's 5 years renewal. Okay.
I'm perfectly confident that she has everything well in hand. So.
Yes. Okay. With any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B. I need a motion to approve the compensation for extra payroll duties as proposed.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
The motion is second. Discussion. Scott.
So just briefly, over the course of the last year, we had an employee transition at the middle end of December to a different office. We have opted not to replace that person at the moment, and the 2 individuals that have been doing the payroll duties said they were interested in continuing on doing that if they could be compensated in addition for that. However, as we've talked about many times with our wage study, it's set, we've gone through the process of that, so I don't want to start moving around steps and levels, because then it becomes complicated and a trickle effect of everything else you have to move around. If we just add an additional compensation to them of $6,000 annually to do this, it'll split the wage, or it'll split the duties, and it'll be a savings of about $34,000 by not replacing the position. In the event that the board wishes to replace it at some point, you just take away the extra duty pay, and it doesn't affect the step and level system.
You had me until take away the pay. I don't know that, so how do we do that?
Well, that's if you decide to hire someone to fill that position down the road.
Well, I get that, but, I mean, I think these employees, and I know certainly they have stepped up and done an amazing job of being efficient and taking a full-time job that probably wasn't a full-time job, and doing an amazing job of covering that. So in that sense, absolutely, but I can't see giving these hardworking individuals extra compensation with it hanging over their head. Yeah, we might take it away if we do something different.
Well, it would be paid out monthly. And so for every month of service, that's what they're paid. And if the board at some point, it won't be this budget cycle, and it's not likely to be next budget cycle, but if the board decides to go somewhere else with the staffing of the office, this is considered what we would call extra duty pay. So if you take those duties away, you take away the pay. If you keep them with the duties, and then it stays with them.
Doesn't it seem more likely that once it is clearly demonstrated that adding these duties to the current employees, it will simply at some point become part of a rewritten job description with the commensurate pay not being seen as an extra but part of it. So if those people ever leave us, we'll hire somebody who also can do those duties at the larger savings. We've eliminated one position, it's split between two.
That would be up to the board at the time of those vacancies.
Correct. But that seems the more likely outcome, assuming, and certainly looks good, that people who have taken this over can handle it.
Stipends for salaried employees, I don't think are too out of the ordinary. I know that teachers, if we do a club or something, then we get an extra stipend.
Or if perhaps you take a new, teach during
If
your,
I sit on a PLC committee or something where I am to train others, which I do, then there's a 3% or whatever it is, agreed on. Sometimes it's 700, 1200, sometimes percent. So I like the idea better than just a jump in salary, because there may be a time where, well, after I'm gone, there needs to be a restructuring of the entire office. Who knows? Could happen.
Well, and maybe it should happen, but in the short term, or who knows, long term, these individuals, they've been doing this for quite some time. Are we doing any back?
it would be retroactive to the beginning of this year.
I mean,
Everybody's got a different opinion, I guess, and we'll just vote on it. The people don't want it, the people do, that's what'll happen.
also the long term is that if this continues to work out, which it has worked out. If it continues to work, that's fine. If there has to be a change 2 years from now, then
So what could be like a reason for change? So maybe one of these individuals gets sick and has to take long-term off or something. In which case, we might have to go buy a temp or something. And then when that happens, we start to think outside the box. What would be a reason why we would?
Oh, a reason why you would be major changes in healthcare law, HR law, policies related to that, and there's more of a need for another full-time employee to handle that. But the HR for this county is not enough for a full-time employee.
Right.
And so then maybe you bring those duties together to do that. But that would be down the road if that is the case. At this point, once you approve it, it stays with it until such time as you change it.
That was my understanding all along, is that an HR/payroll person was, neither one of those things are a full-time job, so that by combining them was really the only way we could justify having a human resources person. So are we then not entertaining?
Not at this time.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
We brought the HR position to the board before, and the board voted it down.
As a full-time position, absolutely. I absolutely would. But as a part-time position or sharing it with these duties,
well, that's kind of what we're doing.
who's doing HR?
They will keep doing it.
They've done some of it, I've done some of it.
Yeah, Tracy does some of it.
Tracy does everything.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. But this is solidifying, in essence, kind of what we want to do. We'll see if it works out and things get done, then we'll know.
Oh, I mean, we're a model of efficiency in this office.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the next one, item C, let's talk about mileage. Right now, the internal revenue pays this year 58.5, I believe.
Yep.
58.5 cents per mile. Gas is headed to $4.50 a gallon. Sometimes IRS does make an adjustment at the 6-month mark if things like this happen. We don't know that. But for discussion, how would people feel that we would reimburse at 70 cents per mile like we normally, for those people who use their vehicle?
It's a big jump.
I'd be fine waiting until the 6-month mark and see if the IRS moves on it, and then maybe looking at it again then.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
just me.
Does that, just take a look at it? In June?
Yeah, I mean, it's only a month away and see.
IRS may come out and offer, I'm just saying that, like we have a lot of employees that use their vehicle, and 70 cents a mile might be enough for reimbursement. I'm just thinking that running your vehicle is expensive right now, especially the gas going in it.
A question, can you do that? Can you pay more than the IRS allows without that being taxable income for them?
No, it becomes taxable. If we reimburse more than the IRS gives, then it becomes taxable income to the person receiving it.
Yeah, then you have the versus, is it worth it to them? I mean, for some people, doesn't make much difference. For someone like, yeah, I'm just throwing it out there as a consideration, and like, we can do it, and think about it next month, if IRS does something. But if this gas price stays with us at this level, or goes to $5 a gallon, that's a big hit for those people who use their vehicle in the work. Yeah,
And more work for our payroll department.
yeah.
I don't know, I'd rather just wait and see what the IRS, if they make
Okay.
a mid-year adjustment, but again, that's just me.
How's your bills?
The tax bill, you only have to pay the difference, you wouldn't have to pay,
Yeah. Yeah, pay the difference. We can bring it up again next month if you wish. Okay, I didn't hear a motion, so, yeah. Okay. All right, next ones. Last week, Parks and Rec met. We had quite a meeting. We have to have a new 5-year plan to qualify for grants and all those kind of things that go along with that. We've talked to Phil Hathaway, and Phil said he would put together a 5-year plan, a rough outline that is in your paperwork. And it's this right here, what could be done in all the parks that we have in the county. Yep, that was actually just printed today, you didn't have it. And then today, we met at 11 o'clock, and we had a master plan discussion with park board members, and county administrator came, and Gary came, and I was there. And Phil had put this together as items that need to be done in our parks for the next year, 5-year cycle. And that number is at the bottom of your first page. It's $1,392,250. Also, this was put together in conjunction with what we normally would spend on parks on a yearly basis. Also, what we would use waste management monies for. Also, if we would like, we can add some ARPA money that we could add to this plan, which would qualify for ARPA use, and that would help satisfy this year's need to have something in place by December 31st for our ARPA money. This is a very aggressive plan, but over 5 years, a lot of things have got done. We have been excellent in our last 5-year plan. Henderson Road Park had major improvements. Chi-Town, major improvements. So the group does do a lot, and they have a lot of volunteers, which has been, we were very grateful for. But, and this is just, I want you to take a look at it. But what I'd like is, and the Park and Rec Committee would like, they would like to have this part of our okayed plan for the next 5 years of projects. And again, we would put together the monetary monies. I mean, every year what the county usually puts in and what the waste management monies would be, and then maybe what we would put in for ARPA monies. So we would have something in place for that report December 31st of this year. Also, in conjunction, we've talked to Phil about would he do our master plan again? And of course, it's a major update, but he has all the criteria there. He did the last one. And the last one actually was done for, he was paid $5,000, plus there was $5,000 spent on maps and geographic things. This time around, for all that activity, that was 10, he has offered to keep it under $7,500. And I think that's a bargain. Normally something like this today might cost $35,000 without the maps, and it could be upwards to $40,000. Plus he has great experience in all that area, and comes to all our meetings, and he was there today. And he's a wealth of knowledge, and he certainly understands what he's doing.
I would note that while we were sitting here, he did send us a proposed contract
Oh, he did.
for doing the master plan of 7,500. So in the event that this is something the board wants to take up, you can add that tonight, or you can add it on Wednesday after you've had time to review the
Yeah.
contract.
I would like to have it moved to Wednesday, but here's another thing. The state has just released $360 million for State of Michigan Trust Fund for Parks and Rec. At the present time, if we work diligently, in which we are, by the first of the year we have this finished up, then we could apply for the rounds of grants in April. And there's going to be no local match if you qualify. We certainly have done excellent park plans, master plans before, because we received several grants, and we would think that we could again. So
I have two separate issues here, John, so.
Yes,
The
there
wish
is.
list, and then, I mean, I am certainly in favor of a contract for $7,500 with Phil.
There's two. This is all discussion. You want to do one for the 7,500?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do one for the 1.3 million, but, I would make a motion that we contract with Phil for the master plan at $7,500, absolutely.
Is there a second?
I will second.
A second. There is a second. Any more discussion on that? What I gave you is a round of what's being discussed. Again, we're going to meet April 6th to give you more information as to March 6th, June 6th.
June 6th.
I got a little question. How come we got new parks on there? We're gonna buy a couple new parks?
Oh, we've been approached that is
Potentially.
something that could be planned.
We
in the
can't even
future.
take care of our old ones about it.
Yeah, I
But
know.
I think those ought to be a little bit off myself. I've been around here for years, and then we got parks that are not even mowed, they wasn't, and now we got two new ones on here?
Potentially.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, those don't need to be on there.
But we'll put them in the master plan,
Oh.
even if we don't. The new county park.
How do
West
you know
Haven-
we can even buy them?
Well, that's the Iron Bridge. in
Yeah,
West
I
Haven.
know what you're talking
Yeah, then the
about.
one down here, last meeting,
The potential.
there's Walnut Hills Campground would like to not take care of their boat ramps anymore. And they would like to do something with them, but that's just discussion. Again, we've been approached for that. We have really done nothing with it, so, at this time.
I just thought those raised the little red flags in my
Oh, yeah.
area,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Well,
Historically, how much do we usually spend on our parks?
Well, the last several years, we have used a lot of waste management monies. I would say 120, 130,000.
And under this plan, how much you're looking to spend?
We would spend double that over a 5-year period. Yeah,
Okay,
and
it's more than,
take 130 times 5, that's 650. This is 1.392. No, it's a little more than double.
it sounds to me like the investment in a park plan, much like we did with the drains, will allow us to become eligible for grant money. And we all like money from outside the county coming in to help us. Sometimes it's an outright grant, sometimes it's a match, but once you look at our cost, the match is just too good to turn down, because we get so much for so little county money.
Yeah.
New monies, I'm getting ahead of myself. The plan we're going to make is just a plan, correct? It commits
Yes.
us to
Yes.
nothing.
It's a master plan.
Because because once you start talking ARPA money, then we're starting to commit, and that's a very different thing.
well, that's why I said we got two issues on the table here.
Correct, because I think, if we're gonna, I don't know at what point we would commit ARPA money, but let's face it, it's almost gone. ARPA money, because of that building across the street, it's just taken a huge amount of wiggle room we have. So, I have some different ideas about the ARPA, and we all can discuss that. I just wanna make sure we're not, at this point, you're not asking us to commit to spending what little ARPA money we have left on the parks.
No,
Because I think we have to look at a lot of options and
I'm just bringing up what Parks and Rec would like.
Okay.
And that's, even though the
I
master
agree, if we
plan,
need, the master plan in order to get state and federal money and so on, hey, let's have a plan.
which we've done.
And I would think waste management money, that 75,000 that we get a year is really parks and environmental things are what we're supposed to use it on.
Yeah,
So,
and we do.
yeah,
We do.
I don't
so,
suppose that sucker's indexed for inflation or anything.
No, yeah,
And that's not even guaranteed.
no, they don't have, that's all.
That's just
goodness of their
voluntary.
heart. They don't have to do
That's just
that.
a grant thing?
No, it's a voluntary.
gift.
They could stop it tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying, they're just giving us that out of the.
Yeah.
but they
It's a-
consider that, they've been doing that for Shiawassee County as long as they have Venice landfill.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
your Parks and Rec Board is aggressively working to get things done, get things in place so we can qualify, and we might be surprised.
Well, if people can't afford housing, they'll be living in the parks.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Voice of doom.
Okay.
Anyway, with that, we had a motion to hire Phil Hathaway, not to exceed $7,500 for his services to incorporate a new master plan for Shiawassee County. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. So anyway, we're working on it, so we'll be back, and so on and so forth. Also in your packet, please read City Retirement Fund. Read the article. It's very good. It talks about national public pension funds and everything. You should, keep abreast of what's going on in that area. So I left that in that packet for you to read. With that, do we have anything else? If not,
No, we got public comment.
public comment. Anybody like a public? Meeting adjourned.
Don't forget that.
Thank you.
Really good.